Tony, Jay, welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
We're a podcast all about filmmaking, how to get made, the process behind the scenes. And we're absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today to talk about your new film, The Roses.
Thank
Bravo.
you.
We had a wild time.
Oh, great.
It was dark, it was witty, unexpected, but it had this emotional truth at its core.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a high compliment.
Just for those who haven't watched or kind of watched a trailer or anything, you just give us a quick overview of the story, what it's about.
Oh, you're making me do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better at it.
Not at all. I mean, it's really a comedy about marriage, about two people who love each other, and it's like, and they're desperately trying to stay married and don't quite have the skill set to actually bring it off. And it's a sort of mix of, ambition versus, your intimate relationship and your ego and how you're trying to balance all those things.
Yeah.
As two prolific filmmakers, writer, director, what is it about an idea or a concept that makes you think, this one's worth pursuing? This one's worth me giving my sweat, my time, my energy, my blood. What is that thing that you're looking for?
A couple of years worth too.
It's true, right?
That's a really good question. And it's, the more films you make, the higher the bar is. But when I got it, it was already mostly developed with Benedict and Olivia in mind and Tony's great script. And it had such a fantastic, dark sense of humor, but also a kind of commitment to the relationships that I don't know. I was moved by it. I found myself getting very emotional about it in the end because I wanted it to work out for them, and they keep trying the whole way through, and yet it's freaking hilarious. There were scenes that ranked among any great individual moments that I'd ever worked on. Like then, and there's a long dinner scene where they bring in all their American friends, and the American friends that envy them but don't know that it's a marriage that is in a really seriously serious jeopardy place. So yeah, it's script and cast, and it was irresistible.
And to you, Tony?
Yeah, I think choosing it's like Jay says, it gets a little harder because you're much more precious of your time as you get older and what you're going to invest in. But I think for me, it's usually a challenge. Screenwriting wise, usually it's like, I don't quite know how I do this. And if I think I'm not sure how to do it, I'm quite interested in trying. And with this, I knew Olivia and Benedict the whole thing started with them wanting to work together and then Searchlight and then coming up with this and coming to me. And then I went, I don't want a remake. And they didn't really want that. They wanted, what would you do? And I kind of racked my brain and thought, I've got those two. And they're great verbal masters, and I love language, so I could make a much more sort of remarriage comedy, Preston Sturges, those kind of people. And it's about marriage. And then it is like, what would I do? How would I bring it off? Because it's hard. It's over 20 years. All these screenwriting challenges that are sort of not interesting to anyone but screenwriters. But they're interesting to me because I'm like, how would I bring that off in that technical way? And
yeah, so on that point, how do you tend to, generally speaking, approach a first draft? Is it a kind of vomit draft thing? Or is it boards and you're very meticulous?
No, I'm meticulous. No one would use that word about me.
Okay.
I might tell my wife you asked me that question just so I can hear her laugh.
Yeah.
But no, normally I spend a lot of time just writing lots of pages, and eventually I try and work out just a couple of really basic things. I try to get it as simple and basic as I can about what they want and who they are. And then once I feel I've got that, then I do boards, then I do a beat sheet. So I am pretty methodical I have a process that I follow.
And that's literally just random scenes out of sequence, just a cool scene here and there?
It's just anything really. I'll just write randomly for weeks and weeks, and then at some point I'll think, I know what I'm talking about. And then I'll go to a whiteboard and I'll whiteboard it, and then I'll type up the beats, and then I'll do the script. And the script I write really quickly, but all the rest of it is hard. All the rest of it is the work, and then the script is the fun. Really.
Yes. And working together, I know the script was at a certain stage, but were there rewrites, and how was your kind of day-to-day script work together, if there was any?
Yeah, I mean, always. Like, we met and the script was in a sort of good place, and then we met and we just started evolving it and just working together on it, and we clicked straight away. And the whole process, and I was on set almost all the time. So
and in post, we always show time.
Yeah, so we never stopped.
Yeah,
I think that's what comedy people love, is they're a bit neurotic, And so you're always trying to make it better, and you're always asking yourself those questions. And I think that's what we did, and that was sort of the fun of it. And then
two heads are better than one sometimes. Yeah.
And we had a lot of collaborators too, and some of the studio notes were really helpful. We had great producers. The producers are Benedict and Olivia's partners, and then my partner Michelle Graham, and we got great notes all along. And we were always torn about how far to go in the third act, and that actually evolved in a really great way towards the end, because we were at first trying to be sort of almost too physical and whatever, and Tony, and I've seen this happen in multiple films where you go, no, let's go smaller instead of bigger, and get more about these two characters and more about what they would say to each other in the middle of the craziest kind of resentment-driven conflict. And that Tony came up with later in the process, and it was really, it was really fun to watch. Then we also, by bringing in people like Andy and Kate, and who have interesting ideas about character design, Tony was always folding that stuff in as we worked together in prep. But the original script was amazing. So it's so fun to just riff off something that's so well crafted from the beginning.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do the actors on a script like this, a production like this, you've got some brilliant comedic actors in this, and actually obviously Benedict and Olivia, didn't know they were quite as funny as they are, especially Benedict. I think it was brilliant to see him in this role.
Right. Yeah.
Do you let them sort of riff a little bit? Is there a bit of improv, or do they stick mostly to the script?
A little bit, but they were so respectful of the script, because it's Tony McNamara's script, but they were also generous with each other. And because when you bring in Kate and Andy, there's going to be some stuff once in a while. And I would often turn to Tony to make sure he was cool with that. And he was like, yeah, you're right. This is good. They
were great. Even from the first time they came in, we started talking straight away. And then they would have ideas and I would have it was just such a fun collaboration, because they were so respectful about it. And they were very, they're so smart about rhythm, and the script's very hardcore rhythm. So they were very conscious of not screwing the rhythm on a scene.
Yeah, and they would always ask Tony to not just let them run with it, but to rewrite it back into
They would have an idea that was like this, and then I would go off, we shifted that, we could make that rhythm work and put it in there. So that was just a fun joy for me. I mean, they're wildcard geniuses.
There's a great scene with Alison Janney where she's playing the divorce lawyer, and she's so good, and it's just this one crazy, long, really excellent dialogue scene. But Andy and Kate both wanted to help have the relationships, be surprisingly moving, as an emotional experience, and to pay off kind of. And Andy goes into this long run about how maybe you guys should try harder. And it was an example of Tony wrote that, but it was off of a bunch of ideas. So that was a great part of the evolution.
Yeah.
Same with Kate.
Same with Kate. That was kind of like we had the read through, and we both felt like Kate didn't have an ending. So then I wrote her coming back, and then she had some ideas in that scene, and improv something on the day that her and I sort of twisted up a bit. So it was just a really good experience.
Yeah. It's a great collaboration.
Yeah, it's weird because like that lawyer scene, for example, there's something almost universal about when they suddenly mask off and they start chatting as if they're friends, and you go, oh, there's an artifice to this whole thing. It was just very, everyone can understand that. And another one was the whale. I don't know why. I just, how did that come about? I just got, it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, the ethereal nature of it, the poetic nature. What was that about?
I think I was just trying to find something. I don't know. It's not that conscious. I just wanted to not go back. I knew they'd fought a lot. And so there was a rhythm thing to it of the audience needs a breath. They need quiet. But I also am right at the point where he has to decide. And then I was like, how's he going to decide? And when he goes jogging, and then I kind of went, they're on the coast, maybe you see. And then I was like, oh, he sees a whale. And that it has a moment, which is we all have, which is what are we doing with our lives? And so it was and I think people have that. Often people get divorced because they're like, I don't want to live the rest of my life like this. And so I needed something. And also I'm always looking for things that can be seen. It's like their jobs. An architect, you see a house, food, so that it's cinematic. So it gives the director something to work with. And so that was sort of that idea.
I loved how heartbreaking it was. I won't spoil what happens, but you never feel that they're more separate than what happens during the whale moment. It takes him somewhere and it's not closer, so it's so
well, it's awful as well, because it's like when you realize your spouse has stopped sharing things with you that are meaningful.
That's what I'm getting at.
It's awful.
Yeah. It felt so truthful in that moment. Like, why didn't you tell me you saved the whale? It's like,
it's
something you would normally share, but it was just a really poetic way of just showing the decline of the relationship.
Yeah.
But one thing we were talking about as well is just how well balanced between you managed to make this. Like, I found myself constantly flipping allegiances between like who was in the right and who was the wrong. I could relate to both characters, kind of despise both of them, but kind of loved them both and understood. It's a really hard, I don't know if it's a tone or just a balance to strike. So if you could talk on that a little bit.
I think it's in the script.
Yeah, I think even through we were involved, we were making that sure of that. I made a decision early on, no one was to blame. This was just life.
There's no villain.
No, there's no villain. He's not worse than her. It's just like people who can't quite make it work. And I felt like I've seen lots of couples like that. And so I was interested in this is how he should have done this or she should have done that. They both should have done something better, as we all should. So I wasn't, and then it was just keeping the audience so they didn't, which Jay and those guys did such a great job of keeping it even and not feeling like you're going to blame someone at the end. You're just going to wish they either got together or...
I think it's humor too. Olivia is just so freaking funny, but I think Benedict is hilarious. And there's a few moments when he says, how about a 3-hour circular argument that goes nowhere? And the idea that people can be so dysfunctional but still make each other laugh, that's so, to me, so moving, and makes it all the more tragic if it doesn't go well, because there's it takes effort to get each other to laugh, and when they stop, like the whale scene is one of the places where they stop trying to make each other laugh, and you're going, this doesn't look good.
This is serious, because even in the opening scene, you have that moment of like slating each other, and then it's like they still have that joy.
They're bonded by it,
So, Jay, you've directed some of our most beloved comedies ever. Do you have any tips? A lot of our audience are actually filmmakers themselves. Do you have any tips that you've picked up along your journey of how to direct a good comedy? Is there any little nuggets you can share?
It's always, get the best script and just cast the heck out of it. Get the funniest people. And another thing that I think not everybody is aware of is just how valuable it can be to share your post-production version early. Like, I love to screen. Tony knows this. And we got so much out of showing it to audiences and evolving and say, oh, I didn't realize they were getting this. And they're howling at this part, and like, what are we losing at this? Like, the therapy scene wasn't always the beginning of the movie. That came in once we realized, oh my God, that plays through the roof, and it has all the tone of, in a way, the whole rest of the movie, because they're being so tough with each other, they're being so profane, and the therapist, played by Tony's amazing wife, Belinda Bramolo, is not getting it at all. She's the couples therapist. So throwing that up front came out of just realizing, oh, the audience needs a way into this, and that kind of screen it. You all, and you're afraid to at first, and but like I always say, fail early. If you're going to fail with the audience, just fail early enough that you can keep working on it to figure out how to get them back.
That's good advice.
That's very good advice. And props to your wife. She's hilarious. So just deadpan. It's really, really good. Some people have referred to this as a kind of a screwball comedy, or that kind of genre. Do you reference other films in a certain genre? Do you kind of keep yourself very blinkered?
I do. I guess I do a little bit, but I really just try to become the kind of preacher of the story, but I recognized the influences. The screwball is, I found out about that term because I always associated it before with slapstick. But screwball comes from a baseball analogy, which just means a weird kind of pitch, right? That it's kind of come at you in some way that you didn't see coming. And it's just funny that they use that. That some film critic somewhere decided to describe a comedy that way. But that is how Tony's script comes at you, especially once we threw in these wild card cast members. You think you could see it coming, and it becomes inevitable by the time you've experienced it. but it comes at you in such an unpredictable way. It's better than expected. So we always tried to go for that.
Very good.
So Jay, you were producing as well on this.
Of course, yeah.
So is that something you always tend to do? How is that? Because for us, sometimes I think indie filmmakers, they're looking for the promised land of being able to step away from producing so they can focus fully on directing.
Where is that promised land? Direct me to it. I'm ready. I do throw myself in as producer sometimes just so I'm for sure going to stay at the table the whole way through. In post-production, sometimes if you're just the director, there can be another kind of pressure. So having a little bit of the clout with myself and my producing partner, Michelle Graham. But in this one, there were so many other great producers that Benedict and Olivia's partners were fantastic, and Searchlight was great too. So I didn't need to be a producer as much on this one. But I do often try to keep myself at the table by calling myself a producer.
Yeah. And in terms of the directing part, everyone's been saying it's very cinematic. It's beautiful. Some of my favorite shots were those beautiful little lapping wave shots. Again, the poeticism is just really, and then back to it,
Yeah.
Are you, in terms of your process, do you storyboard a lot? Are you finding it on set? Are you kind of more loose and free or more structured? How you work?
It depends on the scene, really. Like the whale scene is a great example, carefully storyboarded, partly because there's a fair amount of visual effects, the collapse of the museum. But I storyboard less and less on performance-driven scenes. I used to do it to try to imagine what the right shots are. But I find if you just stay loose on the morning of rehearsal, the performances are freer, and that tells you where the camera should be. You can't imagine it, and you don't want to be puppeteering people to fit storyboards. I still try to shot list and think through ideas, but I don't try to draw all the scenes unless there's an action component or a visual effects component.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the museum collapsing. Have you two had any experiences like that with work? Is there times where it feels like on set it's all going wrong, or maybe the draft, it just feels like, oh, what have I done here? I backed myself into a corner.
Well, yes.
Of course.
It's in my dreams. I don't have any other kind of dreams except anxiety dreams. I wish that I could have a flying dream or a sex dream, or if I have a sex dream, it's some horrible
Anxiety.
result of getting caught in a certain situation.
Yeah, Charles is down.
But I don't know how to think other than what's the worst possible thing that could happen. And we all have disasters. We had some challenging rainout days where we had to rush to compensate, but we got really lucky. Yeah. So it's more, I think it makes me more neurotic, but also better at it because I am pre-envisioning disaster all the time.
What was your Guillermo thing?
Oh, well, Guillermo del Toro told me once that every movie's natural state is to blow up, is to not happen or blow apart. And it is partly the producing director thing. I mean, that's your biggest challenge, is just like everyone's could be pulled and could get upset or and to one, not be afraid of that conflict and just go at it. But two, try to be the benign cult leader who gets everyone to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
It makes sense because you're basically taking life, which is chaotic and scene by scene, and you're trying to repackage it on a set, and try to have control over it. So it's going to always want to
hold together,
pull it apart.
Yeah. But I will share that when I started doing this one mantra, it changed how I was coming out, because I came up through being a camera person and an editor and a sound person and worrying about things that were the shot design, which are all really important. But if you don't say to yourself, script and cast all the time, you can lose track. And when you have an amazing script and a cast, and that includes keeping the cast surrounded by people who will help them be their best, not just how you cast the movie. So it's a good focusing kind of mantra.
And how about yourself, Tony? Do you still find yourself with your experience, do you still find yourself in these dead ends and moments of writer's block, or just feeling like it's not coming together the way you hoped?
Yeah.
Some people say it doesn't exist.
We were saying before, like, you feel like you're learning what's sad about it is every new project you feel like, I seem to have learned nothing.
Yeah.
and you're in it going, I've written a script this year where I was like, I don't know how to do this. And my wife's like, yes, you do. I'm like, I really don't. But it's that thing. it's part of the process. I think she told me something to help me, which was, I think Charlie Kaufman had said, at some point he realized the struggle is the point, and so occasionally this year I've gone, okay, the struggle is the point. So, it's supposed to be like that,
Learn to Love the Bomb is the other one. That's a Zach Galifianakis. If you learn to love the bomb, and no matter what happens, you're going to have a blast. He laughs so hard when he sucks. And he gets more joy out of bombing than he does succeeding. So how can you lose? when you, I try to keep that in mind.
And and just in terms of that loving the bomb, and I guess with these caliber of cast, I can't imagine, but in the edit suite, the number of takes, take 5, take 6, so many different choices. You mentioned before about the moving the opening kind of.
Yeah.
Were there other moments? Did you feel that a lot of it was open to being made?
Not
in the
much.
edit?
Not much actually. It was always the rest of the movie was pretty tight, and we stuck to the script. And I was thinking, someone asked about outtakes. There's almost no outtakes, and I've never had that before, where we really knew what we were doing and shot what we wanted to use and kept it in. I have a great editor, John Paul, who is so good at always leaning on the scenes to make sure they're, not that they're the right length and the right pacing, and helped come up with some of the stuff. But it was pretty.
It's true. I did think of it yesterday because someone asked us, and we sort of commiserated to each other about this moment we lost, and I thought we didn't lose any scenes. We literally complained because we'd lost 30 seconds between Benedict and a kid at the back of the plane, but. Yeah, we could sort of.
It was pretty much what Tony wrote. I was what's the right word? Respectful of it, because I remember just going, "Oh my God, I can see this movie." And as I turned the page, so it was nice.
A lot of filmmakers listen to our podcast, writers, actors, and things. If you were going to teleport back into the past or whatever and tell yourself, a couple of things as a younger filmmaker that you should have done or to look out for, can you think now, looking back, there's 1 or 2 things you would love to have known, let's say?
I think, and I wasn't too bad at it, but I do remember at times, I think it's like I worried too much.
I was just going to say that.
And also I worried about the wrong things. Sometimes I think if I get asked for advice, I'm usually like, forget the business and focus on your craft. And that'll take, because I think sometimes we get caught up on what the business is doing and how we react to it. And I'm just like, go be the best craftsman that you can, craftsperson at what you do. So I think when I stopped worrying and just go be a good writer and don't care about anything else. I got much, much better, much quicker,
One of my mentors was Sidney Pollack, and I realized he said to me that I realized that I sort of shared this with him later on in life, but he said, I've never done a film where I wasn't trying to get out of it 2 weeks before.
Yes.
I mean, really trying, like having the lawyers look in. He said, not a single one. Tootsie, Out of Africa, not one. I was like, Sidney, how is that possible? You're like, because one, I always, forgot how to do it. Like I felt like and 2, I just would forget how much the collaborators, how not alone with it you are. And when you get there that day, you'll have amazing writers, you'll have amazing casts, and you don't have to carry the whole thing, because the really weird kind of stress about it and the weird kind of panic that I guess a lot of directors, not all of them, there's some very self-confident directors, but I really understand why. Because I always lose my mind in prep, and it's just like, don't worry, you're not alone, and that's good advice, I think.
It's really good.
Just the very last question, is there anything from the Roses that you'll take forward onto your next project? Anything you learned specifically from this film?
10 seconds.
I think just working with collaborating really is what I learned. I mean, because it was a real comedy collaboration in a way. And I think, I don't know that I learned more other than I learned that's a great experience,
Yeah, I've mostly just been reaffirmed that, it's about the team that you put together. And if you really don't slack off on that, and in casting and crew hiring, every single bit, once you're all there on the ship, it's fun. But if you haven't thought that through and someone shows up who doesn't quite fit or didn't join the cult.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be,
won't drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. I think Roses comes out on August 29th.
So I think
tomorrow. Yeah.
And wish you all the best for it.
Yeah, thank you
so
very
much.
much. Thanks
Cheers.
to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you
podcast.
guys. Great.